All right, this is part 2 of transformations of linear and absolute value functions. So we did part A in the last graph. Remember, if you have a horizontal shrink or stretch, you have to multiply it by the factor of 1 over A. So even though we were looking at 1/3, we had to do 1 over 1/3, 1 over A is 1/3, and then to multiply that 1 times the reciprocal of 1/3, so you get 3. So we had to substitute 3 in to get part A. Now, we're going to finish with part B. So B says a function h, so we know we're going to have h of x, whose graph is a vertical stretch of the graph of f by a factor of 2. All right, so if you look down here, vertical stretch or shrink by a factor of a, so the graph you just plug in a. You don't have to change it to 1 over a. So this is a little bit confusing because it's done differently. Horizontal, remember, affects your x. It's inside the parentheses. Vertical is outside, so it's a little bit different. All right, so h of x, a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. So we're going to have 2 times f of x. All right, so we're going to multiply 2. And up here we have f of x is the absolute value. So we're going to put it in parentheses again because we got to multiply it by the whole thing. X minus 3 minus 5 in parentheses. And again, we're multiplying 2 times this whole function. So that's why we put it in parentheses. So we can rewrite that as 2 times absolute value of x minus 3. And then 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So that is our h of x. All right, so when it says write a function, all you have to do is look at the rule. Whatever the rule is, then you just put that into action. Example 4, combining transformations. Let the graph of G be a vertical shrink by a factor of 0.25, followed by a translation 3 units up of the graph of f of x equals x. So that's a linear function. That's our parent function for a linear function. And then it says write a rule for G. So they're telling us it's going to be G of x. And they're giving us everything we need to know. So the first thing we need to know is a vertical shrink by a factor of 0.25. So that's our A. Remember, a vertical shrink, A is just A. It's not 1 over A. If that was a horizontal, it would be 1 over. But this is just A, so it's just going to be 0.25 or 0.25 times the function, which is just x. So you could say 0.25 times f of x, but f of x is just x. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute that value in. But it's also followed by a translation 3 units up. So vertical translation would be outside our parentheses, and it would just be up 3. If it said 3 units down, it would be negative 3. So again, you could take a graphing calculator and graph this and see what it looks like. But the transform function is g of x equals 0.25x plus 3. All right, the last example, example 5, modeling real life. You design a computer game. Your revenue in dollars for x downloads is given by the function f of x equals 2x, and your profit is $50 less than 90% of the revenue. What is your profit for 100 downloads? All right, so we'll have to come back to this. First, we need to write a function that represents this information. Once we have a function, then we could type in 100, or I say type in, plug in 100 either by hand or using your calculator to figure out how much the profit would be. So we know that we want to write a function P for profit. So let's say P of x. This is going to represent our profit. So it says your revenue in dollars for x downloads is given by the function f of x. all right, your profit is $50 less than. All right, so $50 less than is going to be $50 less than, and 90% of the revenue. Okay, so 90% as a decimal is equal to 0.9 or 0.90. Okay. Sorry, my handwriting is terrible. Still trying to get used to writing on my computer. All right, so 0.90, that's a little better. All right, so it's going to be 90% of f of x. All right, so 90% times f of x. And then the $50, I've already put that there, $50 less than 90% of the revenue. So this is $50 less than 90% times the revenue. And we already know that the revenue in dollars for x is given by this function right here. So now what we can do is take the 2x, just like we've done in the previous functions, and plug it in. So p of x, I forgot my equal sign there. All right, p of x equals 90% times 2x, and then minus 50. All right, so p of x equals 0.9 times 2 is 1.8 x minus 50. All right, so this represents the profit, okay? So your revenue is $50 less than 90% of the revenue, okay? Now it says, what is your profit for 100 downloads? So if I want to do 100 downloads, I need to simply take 100 and replace it by x. X is my independent variable, so I can plug in however many downloads I want to figure out what the cost or the profit would be. All right, so if I do that, I'm going to say p of x is 1.8 times 100 minus 50. So p of x equals 1.8 times 100. Anytime you multiply something by 100, you're just moving it over 2 decimal places. So you're going to have 180 minus 50. So p of x equals 130. All right, so that would be your profit for 100 downloads. And that's it for this lesson. If you have any questions, please let me know.